Hey there, so today we have another review, and this is a beer, not courtesy, but like from Maine Beer Company. This is Thank You 2020 IPA. So Maine Beer Company, definitely one of the first craft breweries that I actually purchased. And I realized, wow, that was a really expensive purchase of beer. And that's really before I got into craft. But even then, despite that, this is still some of the most expensive craft beer you can buy, at least, retail-wise. For at least simple ales that they do. This one retailed around $9 for basically 17 ounces, so let's say about 16. That would round out, imagine your local brewery sold you 4 packs of IPA at $35, $36 a 4-pack. That'd be pretty absurd, but somehow Maine Beer Company's sort of, glass bottle, 500 ml kind of thing has still stood the test of time. People really enjoy their beers, and actually great things to say about them. I mean, a lot of the money does go towards nonprofit organizations. They really do support local, the environment, all that great stuff. So really cool stuff. But another good thing about them is that they, despite being distributed, we got this in Florida actually, the beer, they don't send that much of it out there. And then also when you buy it, or at least the retailer buys it, it comes in 12 bottle cases. So like 12 beers is much easier to move, especially when you're sending just 1 or 2, 3 cases at a time to a single retailer versus 24 can cases and stuff like that. So at multiple cases you can order, stuff like that. So what is Thank You 2020 IPA? It is a 6.2% IPA that they produce every year, different recipe, and it is brewed with Maine-grown grains, and then experimental hop varieties, aromas of mango, grapefruit, lemon, and notes of grass, flowers, and bread. It doesn't really pop on the nose. I get a little bit of what does it say, lemon? Yeah, lemon, yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe something like grapefruit, definitely not mango. Pretty flat on the nose. A little bit of grass character. A little bit of that kind of ripe, sweeter lemon, almost like Tangelo kind of thing. But really not that expressive, yeah. Very fresh. I mean, it's, Jesus Christ. Right under a month fresh. Yeah, I don't know. I just melted. I mean, it's hard to say. This beer is clearly not, over the hill oxidized, but I guess some characteristics that it's not at its prime. There's parts of it that don't taste quite right for me that I've had sort of middling IPA before. The same way the Highline that I had, that was stored in room temperature. I stored in a month and a half in room temperature. And, it really wasn't like, oh, this bad beer, but then you have it next to the fresh one. You're like, well, clearly these are very different beers. Smelling Maine beer before, it's it's as if I'm sick or something, right? All those high pretty tones are all gone. It's just like hoppy beer and malt. It's blank watery. And then I'll get a little bit of sweetness of the malt, and that plays into this light honeyed, like a honeyed lemon, something pretty like that, right? The malt plays really wonderfully into this light kind of lemon quality, and then there's a little bit of almost lightly herbal back end of bitterness. It's quite spritzy kind of a beer, but again, this beer is 3 weeks fresh and just doesn't quite taste right. And again, from what I understand, when these beers get shipped down and they, obviously deal with the heat down here, they sit in warehouses. And if, this deals with 90 degrees for, I don't know how long, 3, 4, 5, 7 days, it's definitely not going to be at where it's supposed to be. Then again, it could be going through cold chain, but it just, I can't imagine, obviously I do respect Maine Beer Company. I really like the beers, despite their cost, but I just can't imagine, there's, IPA is usually, zing. And that experiment was so good that they would highlight it because, one just whoa, there's just that extra fresh character they get versus, the IPA was just, okay, the one that sits in room temperature. This one's just okay. That's for rating. It's a beautifully crafted beer, but it's just It's almost like a beer with like, again, lacking the high tones. So it's almost like having ice cream sundae, but you sort of like cut off all the toppings, right? Like, would be another good analogy. Like Neapolitan pizza without the basil. It's so hard to describe. Yeah, you know what? That's really what it's like. It's like having a lot of dishes without that extra important component of herb or something like that. It's like guacamole without cilantro, right? It's like getting Neapolitan pizza without basil. It's like it's just that like extra thing that sort of needs to be there, like, you know, to make that, because this is a trifecta of like balanced malt on the back end and balanced hops on the back end. But then there's just that like oomph that shows IPA, and it's like not there at all. This beer for me, it's a very good beer. 88. 88. This is Thank You, Maybe Your Company 2020. Again, 88. Is that even 87? Let's go with 87. Even that's maybe a little high. It's just fine beer, but especially when you expect Maybe Your Company, I think it definitely should be a lot better. So, post comments below what you think about this beer. Maybe it's just that kind of beer where it's just that kind of like, you know, lower tone kind of beer. But until next time, let me know what you think. Later.